this is the session that I think I've most been looking forward to. Although I say that for quite a lot of sessions, really. I am glad that everyone has made a swift recovery, getting back into Lost Mine of Phandelver and the swing of things. So, our previous session left off, rather our session begins, where we are in the southeasternmost most building of Thundertree, having spoken to Rydoff about the location of Cragmaw Castle in order to find Gundren Rockseeker, and the idea as well that we may deal with the dragon that is looming over Thundertree and the people who have taken over a building towards the southeasternmost side. Emil gave a rousing speech towards the tail end of the previous session, about how we must rescue our employer, Gundren Rockseeker, because it's now been a full week that he's been kidnapped, and we don't know what kind of state he's going to be in, if he's even going to be alive at all. So we almost immediately, Emil's suggesting that we just walk out without any word to these people, because the people occupying this building, because we don't know anything about them, they don't know really anything about us, and neither of us are really willing to give up any information whatsoever that's going to help either of us. So, Eliza still wants to talk to one of the people here by the name of Marcy, and talks about leaving, saying that they don't really want to part ways because they formed a bit of a bond, but they do appreciate that they've got a task ahead, and if these guys can gather intel on the dragon, we may be able to work together upon our return to deal with this dragon. But right now, Gundren is the most pressing issue. So they've sort of agreed to that, at least Marcy has anyway. Yeah, so Shoria and Ellie also suggest as well not burning bridges by just walking out without any word, that we should actually talk to these people. So we do. At least Eliza does. Emil rolls an insight check of 10 to see how this woman Marcy feels about this, and she's fairly miffed that we're leaving so soon. That's a line that's said quite a few times with these characters. Disappointed, but otherwise she understands. So while this is going on as well, I, as Garveld, I'm looking outdoors with a perception check of 13, just to see if the coast is clear, if the dragon's knocking on the door or whatever. No, don't really see anything. There's a couple of zombies that are milling around towards the south, towards the west of the map, but otherwise they're not gonna. It's unlikely that they're gonna see us and cause us any trouble. So we decide that we're going to move swiftly on. Just as we're leaving, one of the characters, Damien, who had his arms crossed and on the back of the wall, he's the final person to talk to us. And as he shuts the door and turns around, Eliza sees the black painted hand upon the shield. And I think this is one of those moments, this is something that, like, I don't like these moments, but I know why they have to happen. So, it's like, as this is discovered, our characters are basically booted out of the house. It's like, right, okay, you're now on the way to Cragmaw Castle. We're now on like the Thundertree map, and I ask, and Eliza tells us about what she's seen on the shield. Wondering if these people are, like, if Marcy is also like a cultist of Bane or whatever, or a worshipper of Bane, because I don't need to make a check. The DM does say, like, I know that this is Bane, but I keep this information to myself because I don't want to cause any rifts. And I appreciate railroading, I appreciate getting on with things, but I don't like. This is a bit of feedback that I really don't like. Like, things being implied that I can't turn around and go in there and kill this guy, because he is the enemy of my god. Like, his god is the enemy of my god. That we're supposed to be kind of like sworn foes. And I'm also as well leaving this place with undead. Again, this is me not being assertive enough. And I also appreciate as well that other people have, want to continue the adventure. They don't just want to sit here. Emil especially doesn't want to stick around to deal with the undead when the living have got more pressing concerns. And it's a fair enough point. But yeah, like I said, this further feeds into my idea that I am not going to play a character with a backstory after Emil's campaign, because I'm sick of not being assertive enough to say no. I want to do something with my backstory here. It's my turn now. Mum says it's my turn on the Xbox. So anyway, upon hearing that this is a cultist of Bane, I go gah a lot. Like I want to deal with them like that. I do that a lot in Halo Infinite as well with Emil's player. Like, gah, come here again. Gah. So we get booted out of the house. As we leave Thundertree, we notice a hawk flying over the ruins of the town, and we start to wonder if it's Rydoth. Shoria is very untrusting of Rydoth being a shapeshifter. We know that he can turn into a squirrel, but we don't know if that hawk happens to be him. As we basically just left him to his fate, essentially. We take the horses and cart that we brought from Barthen's provisions. Or rather, that Sildar had got us from Barthen's provisions. And we go on a fairly uneventful trip. As Ellie's watching the clouds from the cart, she doesn't see any dragons or dragon-shaped clouds, so that's rather nice. And then towards we're travelling the border of the forest, so not necessarily we're not necessarily on the high road or exactly in the middle between the high road and the forest. We're moving quite closely to the forest edge. To be protectable, it's safer and it might take a bit longer. But at least the horses can get there, and they're sort of like draft horses, so they're built for lugging carts rather than riding. Apparently, this is something that Shoria and other players have mentioned as well. Ellie it's mentioned as well. Actually, they're really comfortable. Like, I feel like that they would be much better for my build, I think. So, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I like draft horses. Anyway, so we continue on, and yeah, we set up camp towards just west of Cragmaw Castle, what we can see on the map. And Emil takes the first watch, and he prays to Moradin. Eliza's going to meditate on her echo. There's a bubbling of hurt and anger from within her, but it subsides after a short period, and it's followed by warmth. So I don't know what's going on with this echo, but it sounds good. Well, it sounds better at the end, towards the end, anyway. And I wonder. This is a bit of a jab, but I wonder if I was right to leave Thundertree without administering Kellenvor's justice. Yeah, no response there. But I mean that's fair enough. I mean, I suppose Emil didn't hear anything from Moradin, but yeah, still, and yeah, the DM doesn't have to come up with things on the fly and whatnot and tell you. Like if I were doing magic, for instance, probably quite controversially, I would say, yeah, you can get magic, or yeah, you get your power from a god. You don't know from which god though. It's like I might have a cleric of the grave by the name of Harveld Brimhammer, and Harveld might well worship Kellenvor a bit like Garveld, but he might be getting his power from Merkel or the Seneschal or some other death god. He might not even be a human god. It could be a god from Athos or something. I don't know. So yeah. Adds a bit of mystery to it, I think. Anyway, yes. So Emil takes the first watch, and Shoria and Eliza take the next. Yeah, it's a nice night. Stars are out, again, fairly uneventful. That's the key word of this session, I believe. No, not this session, sorry, that's a word that gets said a lot in the session, that's what I meant to say. No, the session does get much more eventful, believe me. Shoria thinks she hears a twig snap, but it's only a bird which flies on by. On Shoria and Eliza's watch, 15 perception reveals that in the distance, Eliza hears a patterned beating, and she has her echo out now. Oh yeah, we joked about how like Eliza's going. We think Eliza's going mad because she's talking to her echo, but no. As long as the echo doesn't talk back, we should be all right. It's quiet and it's far away and it's echoing through the trees. It sounds a lot like drums. It's a rather rhythmic pattern. It's near the castle, into the woods, and it's hard to pinpoint exactly where it's coming from. It's a marching beat, and I've been listening to like Prussia's Glory, an old Prussian marching song. I mean, as opposed to a new one, because Prussia doesn't exist anymore. So I was just imagining that being played far off into the woods by whatever a marching band would consist of, like goblins and orcs and bugbears and whatnot. So. Anyway, yeah, but it's hard to tell how many drums are beating exactly. Yeah, so Eliza doesn't wake us. There's no need to until the drumming gets closer, and it doesn't appear to. She ponders Marcy, Damien, and the Cult of Bane as she's doing this, and she's I guess she's just watching the stars now. She sees off in the distance a shooting star. Except it's getting closer and closer. And it's not just one moving in the air, it's several. It maybe looks like a flock of birds. With a perception of 8, Eliza just cannot tell exactly what they are. They just look like birds. Loads of them. For some reason I put loads of us. In fact, this is another thing I do as well. I've put here, Shoria asks what kind of year it is. This is not normal for this kind of year. I could never be a typist, writing and listening to people at the same time. I was about to say, right, okay, loads of them, and then Shoria asks what time of year it is. And the RDM responds that this behaviour in birds is not typical for birds, this time of year. Eliza knocks an arrow in a longbow, gets it ready, and goes 3, 2, 1, looses an arrow, and she rolls 16 to hit. And one of the birds falls from the sky, and the rest of the flock is fluttering around like crazy. They don't know what the hell's going on, but one of their own has just fallen. At this point, we all roll initiative. So this flock is now about 30 feet away. It's 5 bird-like creatures, except they're not quite birds. We say bird-like because they have proboscises, or as Ellie says, proboscises. Shoria wakes Ellie, going, incoming! And, yeah, they all sort of ready themselves. And now these things are dive bombing, and unfortunately they perform this rather nasty attack called Blood Drain upon a hit. So Shoria unfortunately takes the brunt of this, where she has one of these things latching onto her, doing I think about 10 piercing damage to begin with. Rather nasty stuff. And Ellie, based on a joke from earlier, says they're like murder chickens, upon Shoria asking what these things are. Hearing commotion, I burn a use of Eyes of the Grave and can do bugger all else. I run next to Shoria in an attempt to maybe try and use Word of Radiance, as all these things are now flocking around her and Ellie and Eliza, who are near the campfire. And yeah, and so like she has one of these things, and it's now like doing a lot of damage. But Ellie manages to pull one of them off, and says a very colourful halfling swears. As she's struggling to sort of like beat them off with a short sword or rapier or whatever weapon she has at hand. Shoria very brilliantly uses her Misty Step to poof from one end of the map to the other, basically. I'm reminded of the XP to level 3 skit, like what it's like to play Barbarian or something like that. And the wizard casts teleport to the other side of the room. And so these what we now know are Sturges are now fluttering around like crazy, wondering what the hell's going on now. You know, we've just lost our prey. Barely like 2 of them were stuck on her. So that wasn't good. And one of them, of course, approaches me, and I'm really glad of this because I asked our DM, do I know of vampires? And she says, yeah, you'd have heard stories of how like they sort of bite necks and drain blood. So I'm like, great, okay, right, Fringe, there are vampires here, watch out! And I grab one of them, squeeze it to death with, I think it was it like a natural 20 or something like that? I don't believe it was. No, I don't believe it was like a natural 20. But yeah. Oh yes! Yes, I got a natural 20 to grab it and squeeze it with an unarmed attack and launch it at one to the east of the map, to my left. Emil rises out of his tent and he's running across and he's using his Word of Radiance. And I think he actually uses it twice and does 2 damage on both attempts. And it's just searing these things, absolutely cooking them. And then afterwards standing in a bonfire, and unfortunately with the holes in his socks, takes a few points of damage from the burning embers. And Shoria suggests that it's a shame that he wasn't wearing his holy underwear. Ha 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 ha. Very funny indeed. So Shoria is trying to launch Eldritch Blasts from afar in the darkness, but unfortunately, even with dark vision, the spell is very tough to try and cast in this darkness, and trying to hit such a small target as well. These Sturges, they're giving her all, like, more reinforcements are coming from the north and trying to assail the party, but they eventually get beaten back. Eliza's using all manner of abilities to defeat these things, and this is one of those moments where I'm like, I know that my group doesn't like me recording the sessions for anonymity purposes, that's fine. But I really wish, like, this was one of those times where it's like, I wish I was recording this just to add to the end of the clip, because because Eliza goes, you know what? Expletive, 25 to hit, and this was like Eliza has been rolling really astonishingly well throughout this game. Not almost as good as Ellie later on, which you'll see towards the end of the session recap. And she's just slaughtering these things with a rapier, Talon. So yeah, combat ends soon after. We had a half an hour break during the combat because Emil had to attend some business IRL. So while this is going on, Eliza rolls a natural 20 plus 4 nature check to identify the Sturges, so she knows them as Sturges, and that she hasn't seen them herself before, but she does know that they tend to draw enough blood and fly away afterwards. They are only hostile in the sense that, like, they take what they need and then go. However, sometimes they drain people until they explode. Presumably the Sturge explodes, not the person, but you can't be too careful. I'm sure some of you may know of potion missability from AD&D or basic D&D, where potions would have, like, different effects in your tummy. They mix, and you can explode, or rather your stomach can blow up, and but you might not kill anyone. You might not even die. You might kill other people around you, but your stomach might still be intact or whatever. So, because the rest hasn't been interrupted for any longer than an hour, we can continue. I use Prayer of Healing for the first time, where I can choose up to 6 targets to heal for 2d8 plus 2 healing. Do you know what 2d8 plus 2 equals? John does. Yes, I rolled 2 8s. That makes it 16 plus 2, 18. And Prayer of Healing does not distribute that across all characters that I choose. So basically choose everyone in range. Yeah, heal everyone for 18 hit points. And I think even then Emil is missing a few hit points. So he uses some of his lay on hands, whatever. We rest up and we wake to resume our travels. Oh, bearing in mind as well, like when this was going on, we couldn't get into our armor, like Emil and I, so we just walked out in like our night clothes and had our shield and warhammer or whatever. And yeah, that was essentially it. Let's have a look. Yes, so like in Cragmaw Hideout, or before we got to Cragmaw Hideout in our very first session together. No, second session together. Because we had the tutorial arena before Lost Man of Phandelver. We tie the horses and camouflage the wagons. Eliza rolls 17 survival and gets a guidance, making it 18 survival. And the cart is fairly well hidden. If you weren't looking for a cart, you wouldn't find it. If you were looking for a cart, though, you may actually you may know what to look for and, well, find it. Yeah, so Emil's now thinking of like a plan to enter the castle, and he wonders if we've got any red brand cloaks. We don't. Shoria suggests that her disguise kit may come in handy, as does Ellie, but we don't really think so. I think even with my jeweled eye patch, I can't pass off as a bugbear, or any of us could. Who knows? On the way to Cragmaw Castle, Ellie looks for traps with advantage, 18. Very little to look at. And Eliza's echoes up, and we've all got armour on. So we're carrying on towards Cragmaw Castle. There's some foot traffic heading east, according to like a beaten path. But with a survival check of 5, Ellie doesn't find anything discernible about it. She can't tell what manner of beasts have walked along this path, if they're humanoid at all, how recent the tracks are, or anything like that. It's just lots of overlapping footsteps, and it's too hard to tell if they're recent, and some go west and some go east. And our DM, again, another moment I wish I'd recorded, had said, "God damn, I was muted, son of a bitch!" Which is always funny to hear. That they said it, like the way they say it is much funnier, but yeah, I think that was good enough. Anyway, Eliza then begins climbing the trees, and I think I've made this bit up, to swing from the branches and get a better view. Don't think that was quite right, John. But I do believe that they had like climbed up the branches just to see from the top of the tree line what Cragmaw Castle looks like. She also uses her Mask of the Wild feature, which I think is a Wood Elf trait, a Wood Elf racial feature where you can hide in lightly obscured environments, such as light brush, tall grass, like very light shadows and things like that. So she does with her check of 12. She sees Cragmaw Castle in ruins, but it's very defensible. There's towers, walls, only one real floor. The second floor is basically almost entirely crumbled away and useless. Steps leading into a raised terrace. There's an entryway. Towers loom over the entrance. A single occupant leaves the tower and goes out to the entrance to relieve itself. A goblin squints to see Ellie and Eliza, but shakes its head and returns. So, now they are going to approach Cragmaw Castle. So we're now on the map of Cragmaw Castle. We can see really not a whole lot, just walls. So yeah, things are looking pretty grim for the players who can't sneak. So, yeah. So, Eliza and Ellie are going to play Sneak About. With a check of 24, natural 20 for Eliza, and a 9, both for stealth, Eliza and Ellie successfully approach the castle, seemingly undetected. There's a more walked along path to the south. Ellie and Eliza are scouting, trying to see all around the castle. An upper crumbled area is toward the back, but is untraversable. There is only another way in, a staircase that appeared to be well used. Ellie rolls 20 survival and Eliza rolls 9 survival. The rolls are quite literally reversed now. Well used, so reveals that this path is well used. The footprints seem to be bigger. Bigger than hers too, but Ellie is a halfling, so that's not really saying a whole lot useful. Ellie examines the ground, taking her chances. A stealth roll of 20. Got there in the end. A stealth roll of 20. The DM saying this one does matter. And a survival check of 9. Reveals a lot of footprints. Can't say how many. Double what there were on the other paths from before on the way to Cragmaw Castle from the camp. The front door has collapsed, or rather, front doors have collapsed and are laying on the floor. Ellie and Eliza say that they saw nobody during the scouting. Eliza with a 5 perception and Ellie with a 20. Eliza didn't hear anything, but Ellie hears through the stone walls some talking in a language that she does not speak. Two voices, conversation seems to be heated. They relay this to the rest of the party upon their return. Emil was playing Tiddlywinks all by themselves, and just as Ellie and Eliza return, he finally gets the last Tiddlywink into the pot, and is very happy with himself there. So that's good. That's good. I think that deserves some inspiration, to be honest. So he asks what happened, and Eliza says that she explained. Oh yeah, I explained just 2 minutes ago. Listen to me. And because she had actually explained, like I think in and out of RP. So anyway, the plan. Ellie and Eliza snuck in and to see if there's any trouble with the rest, and if the rest. Sorry, let me try again. The plan. Ellie and Eliza will sneak in, and if there's any trouble, the rest of us will rush in. All of us have our own idea of what the safe word should be. Myself and Emil agree on, I think it should be Jenga. I think Eliza says Badger, and I think Ellie and Shoria say Potato, Potato, Potato! Shoria suggests setting up a trap of 2 sticks and a piece of rope, just to trip enemies up. This will become very handy very soon. Stealth, even in the bushes. I rolled a nat 1. I rolled 18, but it was disadvantaged because of chainmail armor. Sorry, scale mail armor. So nat 1. Oh. Eliza and Ellie both rolled 23. Ellie, investigation 18, sees a large iron door. Olden, it's reinforced. Luckily, has a lock mechanism that isn't trapped. And she tries to pick the lock, and very deftly with a Dex plus proficiency bonus equals 19, it clicks open. So now we can finally get in. Just bear with me while I find. Okay, right. Eliza rolls sleight of hand check 19 to make the trap, and Shoria asks what skill there is for making traps, as there's no specific one. Good point. I definitely think there should be. I mean, I guess sleight of hand is the closest thing. Even then, I would maybe say like, okay, make a wisdom check, because this isn't something you're going to read in a book. This is something you're going to learn from necessity in the wilderness, like hunting and trapping. So yeah, maybe like wisdom sleight of hand rather than dex sleight of hand. Yeah, I'm all for like a crafting skill being in D&D again. I'm quite for a lot of other things, like streetwise as well. That would be more wisdom than intelligence, I think. Anyway, where am I? Yes. So, inside the entryway, it's collapsed. To the north, Emil's looking at like how long would it take to clear the rubble towards the north of the tower that's collapsed. And our DM says that even with a team of people spending like half an hour, it's going to make a lot of noise. And I was tempted to say, well, what about mold earth? Would that do anything if I move the stone very slowly? It's not going to do a whole lot, really. And even then, it's like, is it going to provide any use to the adventure? Without, I guess, so much railroading, perhaps. I don't mean that in a bad way for our DM. It's like, you know, this is a starter adventure. We're pretty new players. We kind of want to get through from point A to point B. But yeah, if this was more like a sandboxy adventure, I would definitely be piping up about Mold Earth, saying, hey, look, I've got this spell. Can I use it here? See what the consequences are. Let's see what happens. But no, not today. Not today. And I suppose that's an argument, like, because of this is like a starter adventure and I want to keep things moving, do I really want to deal with my backstory stuff? Not really, no. I suppose closer to rubble. Okay, alright. So Eliza with a perception of 20 and Ellie with a perception of 19, they're listening to the doors. So I think one of them. I have to read my notes. Okay, so I think Ellie's listening to the southernmost door, and Eliza's listening to the door towards the east. And they're both. So one of them's silent. I think Ellie's door is utterly silent. And Ellie can hear. No, yeah, Ellie's door is silent, and Eliza's door, she can hear muffled noise, but it's like 2 doors away or something like that, so it's not through the direct door. Anyway, we enter this room now that Ellie was looking in. There's no keyhole on there or anything like that. There doesn't seem to be any more keyholes here. There's no traps or anything like that. It's a storage room. Towards the east, towards the eastern walls are boxes and barrels, just stuff shoved towards the side. I think Emil was suggesting that we search through them, but we thought no, let's clear the place out first. It's time for that. Yeah, we have got Gundren to see to. Maybe even block the door, which I think would have been a really good idea. But then I remember their one shot that they ran, a more festive themed one. I think it was like between sessions. Now was it between 11 and 12? Were there 2 one shots? I'm pretty sure there were. So yeah, it was a festive theme one anyway. And yeah, then we blocked a door with crates. Didn't do anything. They just came through the ceiling. Snowmen came through the ceiling. Sorry, no, I'm not criticising our DM at all. Anyway, moving on. Eliza's dark vision reveals nothing else besides an arrow slit in these walls. The rubble in the north can't be moved. I already mentioned that. Eliza rolls a 13 to listen to the door south of where we are now in the storeroom, and she can hear goblins. But they're not just talking, they're saying something that she can't understand. And they appear to be chanting. Emil says maybe it's their version of calling dominoes, I don't know. Very funny indeed. So, Ellie and Eliza, they roll stealth. Ellie, upon opening this door with the goblins chanting, the door creaks loudly and the chanting now stops. And upon hearing this, she just slams it open, saying, you know what, stealth's over. Eliza, Eliza's running behind her as well. And they see a black curtain, and a goblin pops its head out. And Eliza summons her echo, which she's just allowed to do, because combat now begins. I've put here, I worryingly roll a 19. Eliza rolls a nat 1. 5 for initiative. Oh dear. And as combat begins, a creature appears from the stone, which we later reveal to be a Grick, which we recognise from our nightmares, but our dream with the Sword of the Ember Knight, but we've not actually seen one for ourselves before. So it's a rather horrifying thing. Yeah, so Eliza and Ellie are being attacked by this Grick, and they're a bit occupied there. While that's going on, I rush in, and Eliza says, "Do you want to maybe check the room before you start rushing in for this goblin?" And I go, "Nope. I know what I want. I want that goblin who's peeking his head through the curtains." I roll a natural 20 to hit him with my warhammer, doing 8 damage at once and a single point upon my extra d8 of crit damage. The other two yell and scream. The curtain that this goblin was peering around falls down, and 2 more goblins are revealed. One launches a black hand at Ellie and misses with this spell, and the other goblin yells a piercing shriek. Now Emil's charging in as well, and he sees the Grick, and he shield bashes it. Nat 20 plus 2. And he knocks the creature prone. He holds it down with his shield as best he can. Shoria says, "You can't see when you can't plan when you can't see F all," which is very true. And this is the predicament that I think Shoria's player finds themselves in a lot, at least in our campaign, where characters go sneaking off, we can't see anything, and then Shoria unfortunately ends up in a position where it's just like, because of the dynamic lighting, it's all black. She can't see anything, can't do anything, doesn't know what spells to use. And that's like one of the things for spellcasters is you kind of need to know what you're going to do before your turn begins. And if you can't see anything, you're at a huge disadvantage. So I do appreciate the difficulties they were having. So anyway, the combat's resuming, and the goblin runs out the door that we came in, and he trips upon one of our traps. Or does he? I don't think he does, actually, because I wrote here 17 dex, he escapes and runs to the next trapped door. So the door that we came in had the trap, but then we built another one with the same check, and using the same number from the previous check to make another one on the eastern side door. So if anything tries to come through here in the commotion, it's going to trip over that. So, so now I go after this shrieking goblin. I say, "Gods forgive me for what I am about to do," and leap upon the altar and swing at the goblin, unfortunately missing, so I leap down again. So, Ellie is now giving chase to this other escaping goblin. The one I wanted leapt over the altar again. Amazing that the 3 objects that were on top of the altar were completely undisturbed by this action. Just bear with me, I'm trying to find it. Misses Eliza, because he disengages, and misses Eliza and Emil, and with some sort of poison ability, it might have been poison spray, he asks Emil and Eliza to make a dexterity saving throw, and they both succeed spectacularly well. 2 more goblins are going to join the fray very soon. Yes, they call to a room that's near Shoria, and 2 more goblins enter the fray with a roll of 21 and 4 on their initiative, and Ali rolls a nat 20 plus 6 to crossbow hit a goblin, 7 plus 4 crit damage, 4 plus 10 sneak attack damage, killing it dead. Well, I would certainly hope so after that. Emil knocks the fleeing goblin cultist prone, once again, Shoria tries to viciously mock the Greek, but is too wise to be belittled. And Ellie's player then suggested like looking up the Vicious Mockery Generator website, which I think is a really cool ability, really cool website, a resource, because that's the sort of thing I would need if I were playing a bard, and I may do yet. So I got the so I eventually, because I missed the Greek. I missed the Greek the first time with Toll of the Dead, but then I hit it again for 12 maximum damage, and its body shivers and quivers and shakes as it hears this this dolorous tone running through its entire body and just falls dead. Emil knocks the fleeing goblin. Oh no, hang on, yep, got that one. Okay, Ellie rolls a nat 20 plus 6 to kill the last goblin after a very fierce combat, dealing 31 damage, second crit in a row. And I think that's actually the most damage that any of us have ever done in the game. So combat is now ending. Emil is going to take a nat 1 to listen to the northwesternmost door. A door somewhere else shuts, and that's all he can really hear. Shoria with an 18 perception listens to a door, to the door closest to her, towards the south of this room that we're in now, in the altar room. But there's nothing west of there. I decide to steal a bit of thunder here from Ellie, and I do apologise, but I like this is like this sort of thing really is my forte. I guess they were looking at it from the arcane point of view, and I was looking at it from a more religious point of view. That's the one thing I'm good at. Don't take that away from me. So Ellie and I are inspecting the altar, and it consists of the altar consists of altars and a bell. My note-taking ability is dire, and this is before the times I just disassociate and just zone out. There is one Black Hand of Bane statue, and I destroy it easily, no check required. Eliza feels a sudden surge of warmth and happiness. There's also a goblinoid mask as well, which Shoria casts Detect Magic on. It takes 10 minutes and it lasts 1 hour. I've just put there as a note. And there's a little bell as well, and I take it and I just ring it, and there's no noise. It has the little thing in the middle. I should know this because this is my character's whole thing: bells and graves and dead folk. There's no sound. I'm tempted to just like keep doing that until something happens. And I only just thought of it this morning, the day after the session, that I was like, I wouldn't mind actually like. I wish I'd thought of the time to maybe clear my ears out or something like that, like with an incense stick, really get in there, get the grime out, and then just like do it again, just to see if I hear anything. But Ellie does suggest, don't ring it again. Yeah, I've put here, Ellie advises ring it again, and it's like, no, she advises, maybe don't do that again, Garvel. So, the goblinoid mask upon Shoria's spell emits a faint glow from the spell. But we don't know what it is yet, and neither does the DM. They have to figure it out the next session. So that's fair enough. At least we know they've got something planned for it. That's cool. We loot the bodies and the barrels. We pile them all up and get ready to destroy them. The Grick, unfortunately, has no pockets. Oh, again. Eliza with an 18 investigation reveals, and Ellie with a nat 20 plus 6 investigation reveals 14 gold pieces, 10 silver pieces, 5 black obsidian gemstones from the mage, 10 gold pieces value each, which Eliza just snaps them up, like grabs them and just stuffs them in her pockets. Anywhere she can, she'll put them. I also tell her as well about the Vive Malachite. It's just, no, I've got those, they're mine! And 1 simple gold goblet, 10 gold pieces. So if you want to be fancy at the tavern, we've certainly got that for us. But yeah, that's really and that's really all that happened. So now we're just kind of waiting to find out what this mask does. There's some beds towards the south of the most room near the terrace, I think, where we could have gone. I think that's like the front entrance, I'm not sure. Yeah, so if we wanted to have a rest or whatever, we can. We've got spells. So yeah, so I think we've got enough to consider. I think we've got enough opportunity for RP with the mask and the bell, both of which are in now my possession. Yeah, we've got some nice loot as well. And we're going to continue on. We're going to see where this goes next session. So, but honestly, that was one of my favourite sessions of Lost Man of Phandelver. I mean, I love combat, but the way the castle was... I have to give this as feedback to IDM. The way the castle was described was brilliant. Didn't quite understand some of the terminology, like the terrace, for instance. But no, I you know, someone who does like siege warfare and stuff, I really should know those things. But yeah, it was really nice. I've been looking forward to Cragmaw Castle ever since it was mentioned. So yeah, I can't wait to see what comes of it next. So I do believe that next session maybe we might have the castle cleared, because we're getting much better as a group, coordinating, knowing what our strengths and abilities are. Yeah, especially when Shoria can actually see what's going on. Get a few more Eldritch Blasts in and save the team. So, yeah, that was it. So, thank you for watching. It's been a pleasure, as always. Dead looking forward to the next session of Lost Man of Phandelver. Hopefully no one else gets ill. I imagine it's going to be my turn soon enough. But yeah, we shall see. So, yeah, thank you for watching. Take care now. And, yes, may you roll enough 20s that you succeed, but, like, not so many that your DM gets suspicious and change your dice and you don't get those 20s. Basically, oh, better yet, yeah, just roll 20s when you absolutely need them. Yeah, that's my new wish for you at the end of these things. It's time for now.